guys, Scare9 here, welcome to my channel today, and in this video we're going to be ranking all 8, but technically 9 Pinnacle weapons within Destiny 2. We'll talk about that in a second. I just want to thank you guys so much for the support on these videos. It really does mean a lot. A lot of work goes into them, so I'm glad you guys are liking the discussion that comes afterward, because that's the whole point of this, you know? It's not to get mad at each other for liking different weapons and that sort of thing. It's to provide constructive feedback to Bungie based on what we collectively as a whole think about these weapons. So the discussion in the comment section below is very important to me, so make sure you are leaving your own personal opinions down there and we can talk about it. But keep in mind, I'm currently on my honeymoon, so it might be a couple of days before I can respond to your comments. Still, do it though. You guys can talk among each other for the first couple of days. Yeah, so we're going to be ranking all the Pinnacle weapons. I tried to account for both the PvE and PvP arenas of Destiny put together into one decisive list, but once again, I'm a human being. These are my opinions. Everyone has different favorite weapons and that sort of thing, so keep that in mind. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. So, to start off with, we're going to be starting off with the worst Pinnacle weapon in my opinion, and that is going to be the Loaded Question. Its perk is called Reservoir Burst. When the battery is full, your next burst deals additional damage and causes enemies to explode on death. And it's not just like a small explosion, it's huge. Now, this, in my opinion, is the only lackluster Pinnacle weapon, and I want to, bring it back to that, because it's not necessarily a bad weapon. The explosion is really cool. It can be quite effective against, like, large hordes of enemies and that sort of thing, but that's one of the areas of Destiny that you don't really need help in. If you have a large group of Thrall, yeah, you can explode them with a shot of a fusion rifle, but you can also throw a grenade, and you can also, use dozens of other weapons and abilities in the game that can easily take care of these size hordes without, wasting a slot or being that weapon specific perk or that sort of thing. So I really do like the Loaded Question. I do have a problem with its perk though. I think there's a really good way that you can, kind of turn it around to make it a better weapon. The perk only applies when the battery is full. I think this weapon would be better if you could choose to sacrifice, like, say, 2 or 3 shots to get this additional damage and to cause enemies to explode on death to activate that perk. I think that'd be very cool, because in order to essentially use this, you either have to reload every shot, which is very annoying, or you have to stand in a well, or you have to use a hunter dodge, or all these, other class abilities or ways to get your magazine full that you probably are going to need when a mini boss or an ultra or even, just a major enemy comes up to help you take them out. So I think it's kind of counterintuitive. And then in addition, even if you were even using a well, the last 6 shots in the magazine, or in the weapon rather, they're useless because you can't ever get to that full battery again until you pick up more ammo. So it kind of shoots itself in the foot a little bit. I would like to see the perk kind of reworked. The gun doesn't do great single target DPS, as you can see in the gameplay, which is really unfortunate, but I'm hoping they kind of rework this thing, but it's going to come in the number 8 slot. Now in the number 7 slot, we have the Oxygen SR4 with its perk Mega Neura. Dragonfly deals more damage based on the number of precision hits dealt beforehand, and that stacks up to 3 times. Now, this is one of the brand new Pinnacle weapons coming within the Season of the Drifter, and it's actually essentially just a return of a fan favorite weapon from Destiny 1, the God Roll Hung Jury, of course from Dead Orbit. This was huge around the time of the Taken King. It had very similar perks, but this one's just kind of beefed up. You get that super Firefly, once again, just making things explode, dealing a little bit more damage and that sort of thing, and once again, this kind of circles back around to what I said with the Loaded Question. Dealing with hordes of enemies isn't exactly the most troubling thing within Destiny, right? We want a lot of single target DPS most of the time, but this gun does that a little bit better. I do like the explosions, and all in all, it's a lot more convenient to use. You don't have to change your playstyle. You don't have to go out of your way to activate any perk or anything. If you're playing the game like you should and going for those precision hits, you should be getting a lot of utility out of this weapon. So if you were ever using a scout rifle in your energy slot that's not an exotic scout rifle, there's really no reason not for it to be the Oxygen. It's very well-rounded. It's got a pretty decent perk. It's not the most effective thing in the world, but it's a good Pinnacle weapon that you don't really have to try to use. So it is coming in the number 7 slot. Now in the number 6 slot, we have the 21% Delirium. From this point on, all of them are absolutely incredible. Top tier, top of their class easily, and the 21% Delirium is no exception. Its perk is called Killing Tally. Kills increase this weapon's damage until it is stowed or reloaded. And that is where I think that this gun does its perk a lot better than the loaded question, because it's not the first shot. If you keep this thing reloaded, then you're good to go. And it has a ton of shots in the magazine. I don't know how many off the top of my head. So by the time you shoot all of them, you can have your hunter dodge back or your well back or something like that. You don't have to be constantly standing within or using these class abilities to constantly refill your magazine. You can just kind of like dip and go and that sort of thing. It is incredibly effective. It's good at single target DPS. It's good at taking care of hordes. It's good at pretty much everything. It's a killer, especially in Gambit, which is where you get it, so that makes a lot of sense. It's a lot of fun, and it is one of the only super effective legendary power weapons in PvE. You have a couple. You have cluster rockets. You have the hammerhead is pretty good. Some people really like linear fusions like the tarantula. The 21% Delirium is definitely at the top of that class in my opinion, and it is coming in the number 6 slot. Now in the number 5 slot, we have the Mountaintop with its perk Micro Missile. This weapon fires in a straight line and has massively increased projectile speed. Essentially, it's a grenade launcher that fires like a rocket launcher, and it is hella intimidating. One fun fact that I bet a lot of you guys didn't know, before the Outbreak Prime, this was the only weapon in the game that could one-phase every single raid boss. A legendary weapon can one-phase Insurrection Prime, who has an insane amount of health. That's pretty crazy. Unfortunately, you do have to have 6 people on your fire team having this, and with it being such an annoying, lengthy, tedious quest to get to this damn thing, not a lot of people have it. So it's probably one of the most rare Pinnacle weapons. It's definitely up there, but it's a lot of fun in PvE, and then PvP, it's pretty much a guaranteed one-shot kill if you hit the target. It's pretty crazy like that. Its only downfall is you don't get a ton of shots with it, but if you run scavenger perks, that kind of alleviates that problem. But it's essentially a grenade launcher that's a sniper. It's gross. It's a lot of fun in both PvE and PvP, and it is coming in the number 5 slot. Now in the number 4 slot, we have the Breakneck. With its perk Onslaught, this weapon's rate of fire increases as you stack Rampage. It's essentially just the auto rifle version of the Radrix's Claymore, but it's pretty easy to get. It's really good, and honestly it's pretty much tied with spot 3, which we're going to talk about in a second. It's incredibly easy to use. It's really good for mowing down easy enemies, medium tier enemies, and if you get it spun up, it doesn't do that bad against like ultras and that sort of thing as well. It's pretty much my go-to weapon if I ever want to use something in my energy slot like the Icolo shotgun or that sort of thing. The Breakneck is incredible. It's very good to use. I'd say its only downfall is that it's not the best weapon in Crucible. And that's just because by nature, Rampage isn't as good as a lot of perks in Crucible because of its really quick perk timer where you need to get 2 kills to be as effective as Kill Clip, where it lasts the same amount of time. So Kill Clip, I think, is a lot better for things like PvP. That kind of hurts Breakneck because it's hard to get it going, but still, it's very competitive in PvE. It's not the worst thing in PvP. It's pretty average, maybe a little bit better. I have yet to see anyone go on an absolute tirade with this thing, though, but, you know, there's people all over the world that do crazy-ass stuff with weird weapons, so I can't wait to see it. Yeah, Breakneck coming in the number 4 slot. Now in the number 3 slot, we have the Radrix's Claymore or the Radrix's Broadsword, depending on when you started playing. Once again, this and spot 4, the Breakneck, are pretty much tied. They're interchangeable. It changes a lot depending on what type of activity you're doing. There's just a lot of different factors. This was the original Pinnacle weapon all the way back in Season 3. It was the only one for that season, and it was a crazy just domination time in the Crucible where everyone who was destroying you always had a Radrix, but there wasn't that many of them. I think only like 9,500 people had them back then in that season, which is pretty crazy. Now it's obviously a lot more common, but it's also very effective. In Crucible, it's still pretty good, especially because it has a time to kill of 0.43 seconds at its very, very, very quickest time to kill. This thing shreds people. It's crazy, but you do have to have that perk active. Without it, it's just a regular legendary pulse rifle. It's not as competitive as a lot of other weapons in the game, but it's still pretty good. Now in PvE, this thing is a monster. Once you get that perk proc, you are never losing it because you are able to quickly melt pretty much anything, get your headshot, get your perk right back, and it's just an endless tirade of just destruction raining across the field. It's a very good PvE weapon. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, it's coming in slot number 3. Now in the second slot for this video, we have the Luna's Howl, or the Not Forgotten. That's where the 8 or 9 weapons on this list comes from. I think they're technically the same weapon. You know, obviously the Not Forgotten has like extra range and that sort of stuff, but systematically, if you think about it, if you break down all of these weapons based on their perks and their time to kill and that sort of thing, they are essentially, for all intents and purposes, the same weapon. And we are going to be counting them as such in this video. Obviously, if you get mad at that, just put Not Forgotten a little bit higher than Luna's. Just imagine I did that, okay? It's really not that big of a deal, though. Its perk is called Magnificent Howl. Rapidly landing 2 precision shots grants a short period of bonus damage until you get your next kill or you miss a shot. Now, it is worth noting, this is before the nerf that is happening with Penumbra, but even with that nerf, I do not think it is going to move from this spot. It will still be incredibly effective. It will be one of only 2, I believe, 150 rounds per minute hand cannons that can 3-tap, the other being Thorn, to my knowledge, and it will still be incredibly effective. And it won't be as dominant as it is now, but I still think it will be in this second slot on this list, even after the nerf, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, the Luna's absolutely destroys the Crucible. It's incredibly easy to use. It's incredibly easy to set up a 2-shot kill. Yeah, I mean, it's just dominant. It's not that great in PvE, though, so that's why it's not number 1 on the list. It's all right. But, you know, whenever you're running raids and you're like, hey, let's go do Petra's Run, no one's like, all right, I'll grab my Luna's Howl, or at least no one on my fire team. Maybe you do. I don't know. But, yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely the best weapon in the Crucible right now. Like, without a doubt, as an incredible time to kill. It's incredibly consistent. It's super deadly at pretty much any range. It can 2-tap, that sort of thing, and yeah, it's coming in the second slot in this video, and that leaves us with the number 1 Pinnacle weapon, in my opinion, the Recluse. With its perk Master of Arms, kills with any weapon, improves this weapon's damage for a short time. So, where to start with this thing? This thing is insane. In Crucible, if you get a kill, you're not stopping. Even with body shots, it makes the body shots do the same amount of damage as the headshots. With the perk active, you kill people in 0.47 seconds. It's incredible. You melt them. You can roll through people one after another, after another, after another, and you're not being stopped. It kills so incredibly fast. Its one downside is it doesn't have the most range in the world, but I mean, on a lot of the maps in Destiny 2 that, you know, most of the maps in Destiny 2 aren't built for far range. A lot of them are very medium to close range where the Recluse thrives. Now in PvE, this thing's like a pocket machine gun. It melts everything. It's great for single target. It's great for multi-target. It's absolutely incredible. It's very quickly becoming my most used weapon of all time in PvE. I don't know if I'll ever take this thing off. It is absolutely dominant. Bungie, please don't nerf it. I love this weapon. Strive to make other weapons as good as the Recluse, because it is quite literally the best feeling gun in the game, in my opinion. It's amazing. I love it. It makes you feel like a god. And yeah, it's coming in the number 1 slot because it is incredible in literally every arena of Destiny, whether it be Gambit, Crucible, PvE, you know, raids, whatever, high to low tier content. This thing should be your go-to. And it's definitely worth the grind. So that is going to be the entire list. Let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comment section below. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Once again, though, the entire purpose of this video is the discussion. So let me know what you thought about my list. If you change it, if you disagree, if you agree, whatever, let's discuss it down below. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like rating and share it with your friends. If you were interested in watching either of the 2 videos on screen, you can click their respective annotations to be taken in them. If you are brand new to my channel, make sure to the giant version of my logo on screen to be subscribed to my awesome Destiny 2 videos and live streams. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you in my next video.